A few months ago, this fake Drake and Weeknd song went viral. It was made by an anonymous user called Ghostwriter977 using generative AI.
I was ready to play on the radio, and then I got a phone call from the label like, that's not a real Weeknd song. It fooled me.
We can generate an audio file. This would be Paul McCartney's data doing it.
A younger Paul.
Yeah.
So here's how those AI songs work. Basically, you gather audio files of a celeb's voice from song recordings, interviews, stuff like that, and then put them into an AI model that maps out their voice. Those instructions are used to filter anyone's voice to sound like that celeb.
It's not a recreation of their original voice. It's a set of rules of how does his voice behave in this kind of situation.
Mark's a music professor at NYU and a practicing musician himself. All right, here's my normal voice. Hey y'all, it's Maya. I'm here with Mark and we're learning about AI.
You'll send those over and we'll try running them through a few models.
Cool.
Nikki model was here.
Hey y'all, it's Maya. I'm here with Mark and we're learning about AI.
That's pretty good.
That was pretty good.
That one's pretty good.
Of course, there are already lots of examples of this online. From Whitney Houston singing Beyonce,
Baby, I love you. You are my life.
to Frank Sinatra singing Lil Jon.
To the window, to the wall.
What are your thoughts on AI entering the music industry?
So it's this amazing thing in terms of what it can map to and what it can create, but there's not clear guidelines yet as to when we get permission from people to use their voices and so on.
I classify it as a tool. I don't think that it will or can replace human creativity.
Elizabeth's a new media lawyer who's worked at the intersection of music and tech since the Napster era.
There is very limited legal precedent.
So there are a few legal issues at play here. 1. Is something made by AI even copyrightable? US law mandates some form of human creativity in order to copyright something. 2. You can't copyright a voice. That stuff falls under US name and likeness laws, which vary state by state. And 3, there's a legal issue with the data used to train these models. If your model was trained on a bunch of copyrighted Drake songs, is that legal? And this stuff only applies to US law. So what does that mean for a deceased artist?
Most of those contracts, especially for those artists that aren't around anymore, they didn't contemplate what we're talking about today.
Some of your favorite musicians are already using AI to collaborate with artists who have passed away. In May 2023, Timbaland previewed this song on his story featuring AI-generated vocals from the late Notorious B.I.G.
I always wanted to work with Big, and I never got a chance to. Until today, it came out right. Play.
Breathe, not a pimp when I keep the trick up my sleeve.
You know, I've been in the game for a while. I was the late great Notorious Biggie's DJ.
What do you think Biggie would think about it?
I don't know, probably would freak out. The laws aren't there to protect the people yet. You don't have that right to make that money unless the estate sanctions it and says it's okay. That's it. That's just the way it is.
The laws still gotta catch up to the tech, but some artists are embracing it. Grimes has offered to share the royalties of any fan-generated song using her AI vocals. And Paul McCartney said AI was used to create one last Beatles record featuring John Lennon's vocals. It'll be released later this year.
We were able to take John's voice and get it pure through this AI so that then we could mix the record as you would normally do.
But Mark says it's the background singers, demo artists, and instrumentalists, not the superstars who could be replaced by AI. And then there's the topic of appropriation, making a profit off of a trend, product, likeness, or practice from another culture and claiming it as your own.
It's going to introduce a whole other element to that conversation, right? Because there's so many places to hide here. If I generate a piece of AI content from someone with a culture very different from me, it's really not necessarily clear unless I go out of my way to say that I was the creator of it.
Tupac has a cult following, and his fans would probably love to continue to hear Pac. But if they know it's not Pac, they're not going to be happy about it. The true fans of Tupac will be like, that's not Pac. That's a machine.
really important thing to remember about AI-generated music is that it's all based on being derivative. It's meant to replicate. And if you really think about the history of pop music, we always go through these periods of some new trend is started and then everyone wants to sound like that. In that way, it's a great moment to use AI for that second piece. But if you ever are the kind of creator that's like, I want to create a really new sound, a new cultural moment, it's going to be really hard for AI to do that. Like 10 years ago when that first big Lorde song came out, Royals, right? Like nothing like that sounded like that on the radio. If you had told AI, like, make the next hit, it would never have made that. I do imagine this is here to stay in terms of the convenience and everything we talked about, but in terms of the idea that I'm gonna use this to make the next #1 song, I'm skeptical about that because historically we like those to be very new moments.
Wow.
Sounds like Ed. I'm getting the Ed.